there. Today we are making my Positive Potato. This is one of my best sellers at my markets. I also sell my pattern on Etsy, so that's linked down below. The pattern comes also with some printables. I'll have a picture of that here, and you can see it does have some printables, and on one side it's like positive potato, and then the other side it has some potato puns that are a lot of fun, and people really like them at my markets, or they're just a fun gift to give to a friend. For these potatoes, I put on little hearts. I do have a full tutorial on how to make the different sizes of hearts. I'm not going to go over that in this video, but it is going to be linked, and you will see exactly how to make these hearts. Now, you don't only have to do hearts. You could really do anything that you can find to make. I recently put out a video on the clovers, and these would be super cute little St. Patrick's Day potatoes. Look at that, so cute. The materials you're going to need for this are some yarn, of course. I am currently working in Bernat Blanket. It is the color, let's see, sand. When I work with Bernat Blanket, I like to use a 6mm hook. This is the J hook, so I like a 6mm hook. For today's potato, I'm going to be working with a 14mm safety eye. On these potatoes, I just used black and white acrylic yarn to give the details. You will also need black acrylic yarn if you want to add any of the arms or the mouth. And then if you're going to do the hearts or the shamrock, then you'll want to do that in a different color. These three are done with acrylic yarn here, and this guy is made with I believe this is Big Twist Posh. You will also want a needle to weave in your ends and your embroidered mouth and whatnot. And then, of course, some scissors to snip off your yarn. I always work with a stitch marker. If you don't have one of these, you can use another color piece of yarn. You can use a safety pin. Really, whatever you have lying around will work. It does not have to be one of. So let's get making one of these little guys. I'm going to actually be working in the Bernat Blanket. So this here is Premier Parfait Chunky. This here is Sweet Snuggles Light, and this one is Bernat Blanket. So I'm going to make another one in the Bernat Blanket. I think I just like that color the best. I'm just going to kind of sit over there. We're going to start off with a magic circle, and I do have a full tutorial on magic circles, or magic rings, or magic loops, whatever you want to call them. I'm going to show you my way, what works best for me. I had a really hard time with a lot of the tutorials online that wrapped around fingers. It just never worked for me. So I'm going to show you what works for me. Feel free to do what works for you. So a magic loop with 8 single crochets. So we start with that chain, and then we're going to do 8 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4. When I work with plush yarn, I like to kind of stop halfway and pull out the tail, just so that I know it's not going to break on me. That was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, again, I'm working with Bernat Blanket, and this one, it's pretty solid. It doesn't fray too much, so I'm going to have an easy time pulling my magic circle close. When you work in something like Sweet Snuggles or Premier Parfait Chunky, sometimes they tend to fray or break or get caught in this circle. And so on that magic circle video tutorial, I have a tip on how to work with plush yarn and creating a magic circle that doesn't break. Here you can see is my magic circle. Now we're going to increase in every stitch around, so that's 8 times. So here's my first one. I'm going to put in a stitch marker so that I don't get lost. I like to put my stitch marker in at the beginning, the first one. I know some people like to wait till the last one. It really, again, depends on your personal preference and what works best for you. So that was 1. And when we increase, we do 2 single crochets in the same spot. So there is 2 single crochets. Now I'm going to continue that around, 2 single crochets in each, which is increase around. Okay, so we have our 16 stitches at the end of this round. Okay, this next one, we are going to do 7 single crochets and then an increase. So we're going to do 1 stitch marker, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. After the 7th, I'm going to do an increase. This one. So that is 1 and 2 in a single stitch. So that's an increase. Now I'm going to do 7 and then increase in the last one. And we got to our last one. We're going to increase. 1, 2. All right. So we're starting to spread out to the width I want. And what we're going to do now is we're going to add a little bit more of this oblong shape. So I'm going to do 1 single crochet here, and then we'll increase a little bit more in the next one. But for now, we're going to just do single crochet around. If you want to pause the video right here, and I will meet you at the end. All right, I've reached the end of that round. We're going to increase just slightly. We're going to do 8 single crochets and then an increase, and then 8 single crochets again and an increase. So here's my first one. increase. Okay, there are 8, and then I'm going to increase. Then we're going to repeat that same thing. We're going to do 8 single crochets and 1 increase. There is 8. And now we do our increase. So that is our top to our potato. Now, here is where it's up to you how you want your shape of your potato to be. So these potatoes that I made are done with 5 rows, 5 rounds of single crochet. Now, if you like the longer oblong potato-y shape, go for it. If you want a shorter or rounder potato, just lessen the amount of stitches you do on the inside. But I'm going to go ahead and work on my rows. So again, you're working in single crochets in the rows, and you can go 3 rows, you can do 5 rows. If you want a really long skinny potato, you can go more. So that's up to you. So pause the video here, finish your rows, and then meet me back when you're ready for the next step. Okay, I have now reached what I am happy with. I think I'm at, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I did 9 rows instead of 10 this time around. So it'll be just slightly shorter than this one. Now, if you notice while you were making that, it's starting to look a little lumpy and lopsided. That was done on purpose because potatoes are not perfectly oblong little sphere things. They are lumpy and random and misshapen and beautiful little potato spuds. So I kind of created just a slight, it'll look slightly off, but know that it is a potato. Okay, so with that being said, you kind of move it around, see where you want your eyeballs to be. I think I'm going to have it twist that way. I don't know if you can see, there's a little divot here. I have my 14 millimeter eyes. I'm going to plop in about right there. Now these were embroidered, and I will have a link to an embroidery of eye video. Eventually I'd like to make my own, and so one of these days it'll link to my own embroidery eye video, but I'll link to another friend of mine who does a great job showing you how to embroider eyes. And then this one is just simply little V-shaped little eyes. Those are really simple to make. It's kind of just the opposite of the mouth that I'll show you. And then the arms are just going to be straight. For this one, I am going with my safety eyes, which are not actually safe. It's a misnomer. Let's see, there we go. Okay. So my eyes are snapped in. Now, a lot of times I will work with a little bit of fabric glue under there before I snap them in. I didn't on this one. Our next one, now we're going to start to go down. On this round, we're doing the opposite. So we are going to be going 8 and then a decrease. And I think, actually, I want to create kind of an opposite lump, I think. So I'm going to actually decrease first. So decrease, decrease, it really doesn't matter where you put the decrease on a potato because they can be lumpy and it's okay. So I'm going to start with the decrease and then I'm going to do 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and then we'll get our next decrease. So I didn't show you how to decrease on the first one, so I apologize if you are new to crochet and this is your first time. So let me go back and do that a little bit slower for this decrease. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the front loops of the next 2. So front loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Now, if you are a beginner and you are looking for a little bit more crochet lessons, I do have an online course called Hookademy. It has a lot of step-by-step tutorials on a lot of the basic stitches, as well as step-by-step PDFs to go along with all of those videos. So if you're interested, I will have that linked down below as well. All right, so here is that first row. And now, like I said earlier, we're going in reverse. So we're going to do 7 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then we're going to get that decrease in. So through the front loops, front loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, and then 7 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I either miscounted or I messed up somewhere, but that's okay because it's a potato and it can be lumpy. So I'm going to decrease here, decrease. So front loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, before I go on, because the next step is going to be decreasing all the way around and then finishing off. So before that, I do want to stuff my potato. I use polyfill, but if you don't have polyfill laying around, you can, use an old pillow stuffing. You can find an old stuffed animal that you're not attached to and use the stuffing from that. But I like to buy the polyfill. Usually now I would buy my big box of polyfill from Joann's. So at the time of this filming, they've announced their closing shop, which is so sad. We just finally got a big Joann's in our neighborhood, so I'm hoping they take a little bit of a while before they actually close down the shop. Most of my yarn is parfait chunky, so I ordered that online. But Bernat blanket, there's just something sometimes about going and touching the yarn to pick out just the right one. So it's kind of a bummer. Our Michaels has an okay yarn selection, but it's not great. And we don't have any local, like small yarn shops, which is a bummer. We used to, but they didn't make it. Okay, so now he is pretty stuffed, little lumpy. I love it. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to decrease all the way around. That's taking 2 stitches and turning them into 1. So here's our first one, and now I did end up with the wrong number of stitches in that last row, so not sure where I went wrong there, but we'll see if I end up with the right number of stitches here. I should end up with 8 at the end, but I have a feeling that is not going to actually happen. That is a stubborn one. Okay. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. I think I need a different angle. If you're watching and you would like a different angle or an extra angle of what I'm doing, let me know in the comments. I am constantly rearranging my setup for filming. Overhead is the easiest, but I do notice sometimes I'd like a different angle to show exactly what I'm doing, but I have to figure that out. Anyways, I got to my end. I realized I did mess up somewhere. It's okay. I'm just going to do a single crochet and call it a day. So I am going to fasten off now. So in order to do this, I am going to snip and leave a decent sized tail so I can weave in my ends. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it and I'm going to pull it out and tug it nice and tight. I'll use my fingers to kind of bring everything down. All right, so I'm going to take my needle. A trick I use for my needles is I fold it in half and then I shove that into kind of like a sawing it like a knife there. It just makes it a little easier. Sometimes it doesn't want to go in. So that's my little, what works for me. Okay, so when I finish off a plushie piece, an amigurumi piece, I weave in from top to bottom and then bottom to top. So I'm only working in the front loops. I'm not working in the full stitch. So front loop down, front loop up, front loop down, front loop up, down, up, down. And I don't know if you noticed, but I did put my stitch marker in just so I remember where my last one was, but I didn't put it in the top. I put it kind of down below it. So I know this one is my final and I'm going up. And now we are going to pull this closed. You're going to pull snugly so that it closes, but not so tight or hard that it breaks. Okay, and again, I like to use my finger to just guide it to where it needs to be. So I am now going to take my needle, I'm going to weave in a little bit, and a little bit up here, and then I'm going to take it, oops, I lost it. And then I'm going to go straight down and out. Okay. And I'll adjust to how I like it and snip off the back. So there is my little potato. So next we'll go in and we'll embroider the mouth and some arms. And I think for this guy, I will be using my little shamrock for him. Okay, so we're going to get some acrylic yarn. Now, one thing I have a hard time with is measuring how much of something I need. So I always end up cutting more than I need. So I have a ton of scrap yarn, and sometimes I'll use that in the center of an amigurumi as my filling because I have so much scrap yarn. It's actually an entire bucket full of scrap yarn. It's crazy. I'm going to go in and do the mouth. What I like to do is I like to go from the back and then out into the stitch that I want to start in. Maybe we'll do this one. And I pull it through, but leave a little tail at the outside. Okay, and I'm going to go about 3 stitches. And then I'm going to come down to the center, or as close to the center. So I came out from here, I went into the other side, and now I'm out through the center about a stitch or a row down. So I'm going to pull it out. And right now he is that kind of mouth, but I want it to be a little bit happy. So I'm going to go up through, and then I'm actually going to go back into that original spot that I came out of, and then I'm going to push out through the back in that same spot that I started. And what that looks like when you pull it tight is this little, well, he's got definitely a little crooked V mouth there. I might want to redo that. I'm going to redo that. I don't love it. It's a little off. So luckily it was that side, and that's okay. There's always ways to fix our mistakes. Okay, let's see. Maybe I'll just go into this one. Let's see how that looks. I mean, that's better. A little smaller mouth. It's still kind of funny. That's all right. He's cute. All right. So there is my little V mouth. Now, another thing you can do that I have done in the past is use fabric glue and kind of shape it to where you want it to be. Okay. So over here, I am now going to take it and tie a knot and double knot. Again, snip it and stuff it. Now, sometimes what I'll do is I will go in with my hook from another hole and grab it and kind of stab it in so that it stays. There he is. Now I could stop right here and it would be just a cute little potato, but I am going to go in and add my shamrock, I think. Or do I want to do another heart? I do have the videos for the hearts and the shamrock on my channel. It'll be linked down below. And make sure to subscribe so that you can get a notification or just can find it when I post my next tutorial. All right. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go with the heart still. I have plans for this shamrock. So when I made my heart, I knew I had made it just for this potato. Just changing my mind here. But I knew I was going to sew it onto my potato. So that's why it has a huge tail. So I'm just going to go ahead and basically sew this onto the front of my potato. And to finish off, I'm going to do my last stitch in here. I'm going to go out the back. And then my other tail, that was the start of my magic ring. I'm going to do the same thing. Go through the heart and out that same hole. Tie a knot and snip and stuff. Snip. That one I didn't need to stuff it. I already stuffed it, sucked it back in. Okay, there we go. Cute. All right, and for some arms, same process. Go in from somewhere, come out where you want your arm to start. And then I'm just going to do straight arms into my heart. I'm going to come out the side my other arm is starting. Oh, that's a longer arm. And through and then back out the hole that I started. Okay. Now you can do different things. This one is kind of a bent arm. This one is also a bent arm. It's really up to you and how much time you want to put into making the arms of your potato. Okay, and again, snip and stuff. And there it is. My cute little lumpy positive potato. And as I said before, I do have a PDF version of this pattern. It is on my Etsy channel. It comes with the printable with the potato puns on the back. And if you are interested in learning more about crochet, check out hookacademy.com. Don't forget to subscribe and come back for my next set of tutorials. Happy crocheting!